Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me again. Today is March 4th, 2024. So I hope that everybody had a great weekend. There was a lot that was going on last week and especially Friday at the close. So we're going to go right into the data. We've got our favored risk indicator is rising again, the MMRI. And this is pre-market, basically opening the door. People kind of buying the dip and going back into stocks with their money. So we're going to go a little bit more into that. So we've got the relative strength of the dollar right now is down, and that's allowing a flow back into the stocks are green at the moment. The 10-year yield is retracing just a bit, only slightly, nothing major. So we've got stocks are in the green right now. The futures are in the red. So it's mixed board at the moment. We don't have a lot of reports. In fact, not much of anything coming out today. It's mostly going to be the rest of the week. So I'm expecting a bit of continuation today, really watching the levels. I don't think there would be much that would throw those off for today anyway. So sentiment right now is cautious, but they're moving back into equities. We'll see a little more about that. So a lot of the stories about technology versus automobile industry in general and small banks as kind of like a millstone wanting to drag the financial sector down. We'll be watching the jobs numbers heavily this week. So not too much today, but coming forward, Tuesday we'll be getting the reports coming in. So for banking in the economy, we've got Santander is a Spanish bank, and they are cutting jobs. So what all of this is about, same thing that we've been talking about, cutting the bottom line on costs for companies is good news. It makes their stock appreciate. So higher interest rates were dragging on Swiss National Bank. So they're reporting losses. They just had their chief exited 3 years early. So basically, he threw in the towel. If we jump over to Japan and see what's going on there, because there's a lot of movement there, and they can affect the markets globally. So the government is considering declaring an end to their deflation, basically talking about hiking rates again. So their stock index passed 40,000. So they've got a boom in their stocks right now as well. So that means the yen is basically losing strength. If they hike rates, it will put some strength into the Japanese yen. So globally, that means it will be stronger versus the dollar and increase the cost of our trade for the goods that they produce. So going back into the United States, the corporate debt euphoria could stall as the Fed tightens liquidity. So what this means really is that banks are not giving loans as much for the corporate side. With the higher rates, they're being much more cautious about who they loan to, and it's putting in a liquidity halt. So that's something that we need to watch moving forward. So the banks are largely invested in this and they're highly affected. So we got managers exploring the dollar shift to handle US stock settlement. What does this mean? It means they are mostly going into the dollar, selling off their assets. So they have a pool of liquidity is what they call it, but that means just basically having US dollars on hand so that they can settle stocks within 1 day after transaction. They call it T+1. So was 2 days prior, but now they have to settle everything out and have it done within 1 day. So I think this is going to cause a run into basically tokenization for the banks. We know that's coming. That's one more catalyst. So looking over at European companies, they're cutting jobs because their economy is still in the wreckage, honestly. They've got more to go. They've got more to go. United States still has more to go. And what does that mean? Because Fed wants more pressure on this inflation, that means more jobs need to be cut. So going back to this dollar transaction settling through the stocks, there is a link, and I meant to bring it up prior. Thanks to Doug for this one, but it's how to stop the great taking. So it's a bit of a longer video, but it's got some really good takeaways. I'm leaving the link in the description for those of you that want to see this. So this is kind of a second part to The Great Taking. This is how to stop it. It's an interview with Webb. So moving to oil, we've got oil is steadying, was increasing. OPEC is extending their output cuts, so cutting the supply makes the price go up. Along with this, a converging story, we've got U.S. funding bill blocking China from buying oil from their strategic petroleum reserve. So this is very much designed on purpose because they know that there's going to be a divergence and the cost of oil is going to increase. So they want to keep the stock supply for the United States, purchase others that, for instance, Venezuela, that we've recently either made partnerships with, or Guyana that they are overtaking, take their oil less expensive and keep the reserves stocked. It's an old strategy from days ago, so to speak. Okay, quick word on crypto today. Since Bitcoin hit above the 65,000 level, there's people expecting record highs and a lot of fear of missing out stepping into the space now. So I expect once it hits the all-time highs again, there will be a bit of retracement from sell-offs, and it could advance from there because we've still got the halving ahead. So watching levels on Bitcoin, and I'll do a special, like a separate on that for those of you that like the cryptocurrencies. So that's going to be the future. So going into vehicles, electric vehicles in particular, Tesla's in talks with Thailand for a production facility. So this is through a government official, and it's uncertain really whether it is for production of vehicles or for batteries, because we know that they have come out with a lot of the trace minerals that are needed to produce these batteries. So at any rate, either way, Tesla in talks with Thailand, and their main competitor now, who Warren Buffett has backed significantly, is Chinese, the company BYD bid. Repricing their version, the best-selling electric vehicle, is now lower than the one they had before. So we're seeing some price wars going on here. And this is kind of really, in essence, what you want to see. This goes back to closer to what an open free market is, although we really don't have much of that anymore. But the price wars showing up, really filling only if there is demand for the electric vehicles. And that's where I think innovation comes in. So anyway, moving on from that, we've got the issue of the Red Sea undersea cables. So the cables were damaged, fiber optics, these are the main communication lines. The Yemen's Houthis are saying that there had been a glitch. They're blaming the US and British naval vessels. There was the 04Mar vessel that basically was overtaken, the abandoned ship, and it was left adrift for some time while it was taking on water. And I believe I don't know at what exact stage it is of sinking, but they're basically allowing the ship to go. But there were reports from the crew that they had dropped anchor prior to abandoning the ship. And if that's true, then the dropping of that anchor could have come across and damaged those cables because it was directly in the area where those lie. So I want to go a little bit more. We're getting just immersed in all of the war news, but I want to talk about this a little bit because Russian soldier thanking the present US administration for sending Abrams tanks to Ukraine. Why are they thanking them? Because they have been offered bonuses for each piece of heavy Western equipment that they destroy. So they've targeted these because they get paid extra in order to do this. And so what the United States have done, these are not fully equipped vehicles. Basically, they have sent them stripped down. They don't have any major defensive or offensive technology left in them. So they're calling them basically tin cans. But these are major offensive weapons that the United States has been sending them. So now it's a psychological victory to them. And now it's also an economical victory to them since they're getting paid bonuses to destroy these tanks. So, kind of in a sarcastic post, but on social media, he added that there's not enough American tanks in Ukraine for every Russian serviceman to get their bonuses. So he's offering current administration a 10% commission for each tank they send over to destroy. He's also saying that the current president should probably get a Mir card, which is basically the Russian debit card off their bank, to make it easier so the soldiers can send him money in order to send more tanks. So getting quite a bit sassy over there, if you will, a little cheeky, but that's what's happening to the equipment. So I'd like to give a couple of updates. There's some major unrest continuing in Haiti, but what happened was the prisons were stormed and over 4,000 inmates escaped the jails, these violent criminals that had gotten out because there is resistance there. The prime minister has been called to remove, was supposed to step down some time ago and has not. So there's basically an uprising going on there. And the reason I bring this up is because when issues like this happen, they are willing and able to step in with a solution. And when they have everybody come through, the solution is more control. So, biometric update is now we've got Brazil also using their version is called Serpro Face system, it's biometrics, to verify and identify G20 delegates. So it would be a very easy fix to identify whoever we needed to for the other side as well, whether it's criminals, whether it's migrants, but whatever the reason is, everybody must be identified, so to speak. So with that, just a reminder, build community. If you haven't yet and you don't mind, please like the video. I really appreciate that. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.